The Oakland Athletics faced a daunting challenge. Year after year, they found themselves up against teams with far greater financial resources. The odds were stacked against them, and every game felt like an uphill battle. They were a small market team in Major League Baseball. Their stadium, the Oakland Coliseum, was modest compared to the grand arenas of their competitors. The A's had to make do with what they had, often feeling like the underdogs in a league dominated by wealthier franchises. This meant they had a limited budget. Every dollar had to be stretched to its maximum potential. The team couldn't afford to sign big-name players or invest in the latest training facilities. Instead, they had to rely on creativity and resourcefulness to stay competitive. Competing with the wealthy giants like the New York Yankees seemed impossible. The Yankees, with their deep pockets, could attract the best talent and provide top-notch facilities. Their players donned high-end uniforms and celebrated victories with a sense of ease that the A's could only dream of. The Yankees could spend their way to victory. Their financial muscle allowed them to dominate the league, leaving teams like the A's struggling to keep up. The disparity in resources was glaring, and it often felt like the A's were fighting a losing battle. The A's had to find a different path. They couldn't rely on money to solve their problems. Instead, they needed to think outside the box and come up with innovative strategies. The team had to be smarter, more strategic, and more determined than their wealthier counterparts. They needed a way to level the playing field. The A's had to find methods that would allow them to compete on equal terms with the big spenders. This required a radical shift in thinking and a willingness to challenge the traditional norms of baseball.
I was determined to build a winning team. I knew that we couldn't rely on the same old methods that had failed us in the past. We needed to innovate, to find new ways to evaluate talent and build a cohesive unit that could compete with the best. I refused to accept defeat. Giving up was not an option. We had to dig deep, to find the strength and resilience to overcome the challenges we faced. It was about more than just winning games. It was about proving that we could succeed despite the odds.
Beane knew the traditional methods wouldn't work. The old ways of scouting and player evaluation were outdated and ineffective. He needed to find a new approach, one that would give the A's a competitive edge. He needed a new approach. This wasn't just about tweaking the existing system, it was about revolutionizing it. Beane had to think differently, to question everything that had been taken for granted in the world of baseball. He needed to challenge the status quo. The established norms and practices had to be reevaluated. Beane was ready to take risks, to push boundaries and to explore uncharted territory in his quest for success. This challenge led him to question the very foundation of player evaluation in baseball. The traditional scouting methods were based on subjective opinions and outdated metrics. Beane sought a more objective, data-driven approach that could uncover hidden talent and potential. The old ways were failing. The reliance on gut feelings and conventional wisdom was not yielding the desired results. Beane's frustration with the status quo fueled his determination to find a better way. Beane was ready to usher in a new era. He envisioned a future where the A's could compete on equal footing with the wealthiest teams, not through financial might, but through innovation and smart decision-making. This was the beginning of a revolution in baseball strategy, one that would change the game forever. Billy Beane was skeptical of traditional baseball scouting. He had spent years observing the process and had grown increasingly disillusioned with its inefficiencies and inaccuracies. The traditional method seemed outdated and often led to poor decision-making. He had seen its flaws firsthand. Scouts would often make decisions based on gut feelings and subjective observations rather than hard data. This approach, Beane felt, was riddled with biases and inconsistencies. Scouts often relied on subjective observations. They would watch a player and make notes based on their personal impressions, which could vary greatly from one scout to another. This lack of standardization troubled Beane. They focused on a player's physical appearance and intangibles. Scouts would often be swayed by a player's build, speed, or even charisma, rather than their actual performance metrics. This led to many talented players being overlooked. Beane believed these methods were unreliable. He saw too many instances where highly touted prospects failed to live up to expectations, while overlooked players thrived. The traditional scouting system seemed broken to him. He felt they were holding teams back from making data-driven decisions. In an era where technology and data analysis were transforming other industries, baseball seemed stuck in the past. Beane wanted to bring a more scientific approach to the game.
The limitations of relying on gut feelings were clear. Too often, teams would invest heavily in players who looked good on paper, but failed to deliver on the field. This was not just frustrating, but also costly. I craved a more objective approach. I wanted to eliminate the guesswork and base decisions on concrete data. Numbers don't lie, and I believed that a statistical approach could provide a more accurate assessment of a player's potential. I wanted to base decisions on concrete data. By analyzing a player's performance metrics, we could make more informed decisions and build a stronger, more competitive team. This was the future of baseball, and I was determined to lead the way.
This desire for a data-driven approach led him to a revolutionary concept: Sabermetrics. Sabermetrics, the empirical analysis of baseball statistics, offered a new way to evaluate players and make strategic decisions. This statistical analysis offered a new way to evaluate players. By focusing on measurable performance metrics, Sabermetrics provided a more objective and reliable method for assessing talent. It promised to change the game forever. With Sabermetrics, teams could make smarter decisions, identify undervalued players, and ultimately, build more successful rosters. Beane's embrace of this new approach marked the beginning of a new era in baseball. Enter Peter Brand, a young Yale economics graduate. He was not your typical baseball insider. With his fresh perspective and analytical mind, he was about to change the game forever. He brought a radical approach to baseball analysis. Brand championed Sabermetrics, a method that relied heavily on data and statistics to evaluate players' performance. This was a stark contrast to the traditional scouting methods that had been used for decades. This method used statistical analysis to evaluate players. It wasn't just about what you could see on the field, it was about what the numbers could tell you. Brand believed that the key to building a successful team lay in the data. It looked beyond the traditional metrics of batting average and runs batted in. These stats had been the gold standard for years, but they didn't tell the whole story. Brand and his team delved deeper into the numbers to find hidden gems.
Sabermetrics focused on overlooked statistics. These were the numbers that traditional scouts often ignored, but could be crucial in determining a player's true value. On-base percentage was a key example. This metric measured how often a player reached base, whether by hit, walk, or being hit by a pitch. This metric measured a player's ability to get on base. It was a more comprehensive indicator of a player's offensive value than batting average alone. It was a better indicator of offensive value. Players who could consistently get on base were more valuable to the team, as they created more scoring opportunities. Getting on base was crucial. It didn't matter if it was a hit, a walk, or even being hit by a pitch. The goal was to get on base and create opportunities for the team to score. It didn't matter how a player got there. What mattered was that they reached base and kept the inning alive. This was the essence of Sabermetrics, finding value in the overlooked and using data to make smarter decisions.
Beane and Brand used Sabermetrics to their advantage. They identified undervalued players. These players were overlooked by other teams. Their traditional stats may have been unimpressive, but their Sabermetric profiles were strong.
We targeted players with high on-base percentages. These players could get on base consistently. They didn't need to be power hitters. They could wear down opposing pitchers.
This approach challenged the traditional emphasis on home runs and stolen bases. The A's were searching for hidden gems.
The 2002 season was a defining moment for the Oakland Athletics. Our unorthodox methods were put to the test.
The team faced skepticism and resistance. Traditionalists scoffed at their approach.
Despite the doubts, the A's thrived. We won games with our unconventional lineup.
Their success was a testament to Beane and Brand's vision, but the season wasn't without its challenges.
We faced financial constraints and lost key players to richer teams. Yet we persevered.
Section 6, 20 wins in a row, a testament to unconventional wisdom. The A's achieved a historic feat in 2002. They won 20 consecutive games.
This winning streak captivated the baseball world. It silenced many critics.
This accomplishment proved that Beane's methods worked. The A's had built a winning team on a shoestring budget.
They had challenged the conventional wisdom of baseball. Their success forced other teams to take notice. Section 7. Moneyball's legacy, shifting paradigms in baseball and beyond. The Oakland A's story, chronicled in the book and movie Moneyball, had a profound impact. It popularized sabermetrics. Teams across Major League Baseball began to embrace statistical analysis. The A's success showed that you didn't need a huge payroll to win. It highlighted the importance of smart management and innovative thinking. The Moneyball philosophy extended beyond baseball. It influenced decision-making in other sports and industries. Section 8, the Red Sox offer a defining moment and a lasting impact. Following the A's success, Billy Beane received a groundbreaking offer.
The Boston Red Sox, another team eager to embrace sabermetrics, wanted him as their general manager. They offered him an unprecedented salary.
Beane ultimately decided to stay in Oakland. His decision demonstrated his loyalty to the A's. It also showed that his mission went beyond personal gain. He wanted to change the game itself.
Section 9, Conclusion, the enduring influence of Beane's revolution. Billy Beane's tenure with the Oakland Athletics marked a turning point in baseball history. His embrace of sabermetrics challenged the status quo. It forced the sport to evolve.
The Moneyball era proved that small-market teams could compete with the big spenders. It ushered in a new era of data-driven decision-making in baseball.
Beane's legacy continues to inspire teams and executives. His innovative approach left an enduring mark on the game.